Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Amundson Family Music Podcast. As you see, I am flying lone here, and we'll see how this goes. We'll see how many crashes I get, but it is kind of a rainy day this morning, so I have a few things to catch up on, and this podcast is one of them. It was actually supposed to be out this morning, but yesterday and the day before were kind of busy days. We're into haying now here in Oklahoma. The grass is green and growing good, and things are looking pretty positive on the ranching and the haying front. So we thank the Lord for that. So we've had a little less time to spend in our music building here. The songs that we are putting out, we're thankful for all the support you've been giving us. Keep on with those likes and shares and comments. And you on YouTube, we want to thank you for all the views that you've been giving us. And we want to encourage you to check out our other videos that we have on YouTube as well. We've been doing YouTube videos since about 2019, maybe late 2018 as a family. And some of those early ones, sometimes hard to look at for me and the kids, but they were sure a lot of fun to do, and I think you'd have a lot of fun watching them. You'll see some of the kids doing some acting in some of the videos, and of course their music as well, and artwork. You'll see all kinds of things. So we encourage you to go back to those earlier videos and check them out. The other thing that I wanted to say and encourage you, those on Facebook, because we have gained as much followers as we have, Facebook set us up with what they call a Facebook subscriber group. And what it does is it gives you an opportunity to sign up for a small monthly fee. It's $4.99, so less than a Starbucks coffee by far per month. And it lets you in on behind the scenes things that are happening. For example, Anna was working at getting herself a new bow. And so we went to the music store and we documented that there in Tulsa of her looking for a bow, or for other behind the scenes things about maybe while we're doing our podcasts or setting up for a show, things like that. And songs that we might be putting out in the future, you get an opportunity to see them right away in raw and mistakes and all. And so we'd encourage you to do that. We think you would love it, and we would love the support. It really does help us. It lets us do what we do and put out the music that we do, because to put out the amount of music that we're doing takes a lot of work, takes a lot of time, and even expense. And it takes us away from many other things that we would maybe be doing otherwise for working or making money and other things. And so we'd encourage you to help us out with that. The other way that you can do that is on Patreon. It's very similar to the subscriber group, but this is online where you can sign up at different levels of support from $5 a month on up. And you get a lot of the same things that the subscriber group on Facebook gets, but then as you support more, you get more. And so we encourage you to check out that. We'd really appreciate it. Let's see, what else are we doing? I should mention, the reason I'm alone this morning is Sonora's at work, Ira's busy with some of the things that he needs to do, and so far I haven't got Nate or Gabe to help out with the talking part. They're not much talkers, as you probably noticed. And of course, Anna and Christina are at school. So here I am. We're going to see what we can do. So, I have been asked a whole lot, you'd be surprised, from especially parents and grandparents, is how did you get your kids so interested in music? Or how can your kids be so good at music? And it's a good question, and it's one that I'm always very happy to share, because it not only goes for music, but it also goes for, you might get the question is, how do you get all your kids to walk with the Lord? And so it's very much the same answer. And the question the way that I answer that question is, they are a product of of their influence or their circumstance. It just so happens that in our home, we always had musical instruments lying around. I was always playing and singing, and so it was just natural for them to just pick it up. It was not something that we discouraged. Even when they were young, I didn't mind if the kids went over to the guitar and kind of strummed it a little bit. We just kind of guided them on how to do it nicely. And it wasn't long before they were picking it up and trying to make noises. And so it was just natural for them to do what I was doing. And I'm going to just relate it right away to our walk with the Lord. You cannot expect your kids to walk with the Lord unless you are sure of your walk with the Lord and you are showing that life to them. So again, they're a product of their circumstance. Back to music, my brother and his wife and their family, they're very much into sports. But I taught all their kids instruments when I was teaching, and every one of his kids were just as talented musically as my kids. It's just that rather than music, they were into sports, and so all their kids are very good at sports. But they could have gone music-wise, and I could say the same thing for our kids. At least some of our kids are pretty sporty and probably could have done well in sports, but that just wasn't the way that we directed them. So if you want your kids to learn to play an instrument, then have one available for them. Expose them to music, the kind of music that you like. Expose them to others that might play music. And if you play music, make sure that you're doing that. So just give them good opportunity to do that. And I think that you will find that they will pick it up. And in my case, all the kids, they have gotten or are getting and will be getting way better than me. Even though I did start learning when I was about 12, I guess what I should say is I learned because Dad, this is going to be, I don't want to put down Dad, but his guitar playing was limited. And then when I learned from him, my guitar playing got to a certain point, or my mandolin playing, but now my kids have taken it way beyond me. And so that's a really good thing, and it makes me proud. And I would never in my life wish that it were any different. I hope all of them take it much further than me in their abilities. And I'll bring it back to walking with the Lord. I really hope that the children could look at my life and the way that I've shown them to walk and what I've taught them, Christina and I hope that they take my mistakes and they put them in a file of things that I don't want to do. And I hope that they take the things that I have done right and build upon them. And I hope and I know that their walk with the Lord will be stronger than mine. It'll be more fruitful than mine. And there's nothing more that would give me pleasure than to see that. I'm going to read a verse and we'll see. This might be a short podcast with me being all by myself. But I'm going to read this and we'll see what comes out of it. In Ephesians 6:1, I can read this because the kids aren't here. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth. And you fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. And we could read more and more. It's a great chapter. But, he says, children, obey your parents in the Lord. And I got thinking about that. And, children aren't born wanting to obey. I mean, we were born in sin and shapen in iniquity, David says in the Psalms. And training a child in the way he should go is the parent's job and opportunity. And I'm so thankful that I've had the situation and the circumstance to be able to do that with Christina, with our family. He's given us a good community to help us out with that. And so if you're parents or grandparents, if you're wondering about that, how do I put it? Your children accepting the Lord and walking with Him is not a crapshoot. It's not one of those things where, well, I really hope they do, or I really hope they walk in the way that I would like them to walk. But the most important thing is to show them the way that you ought to walk. They're your children who look up to you, and they will walk in the way that you walk as long as it's not confusing to them. And that's where, in the verse where it says, "Fathers, provoke not your children to wrath," I really believe that has to do with confusing them, either with telling them the way to do things without you doing them as well. So practicing what you preach is a huge thing. When I think about my mom and dad, especially Dad, even though he was an elder in our local church and a very good preacher, as you might say, in the home he really didn't say too much about that. But he definitely walked the walk. And he definitely didn't expect any more from us than he expected of himself. In fact, I think he expected more of himself than he ever expected from us. But of course, with that attitude, how can you but not respect a father like that and want to follow in his ways? And so it really wasn't what Mom and Dad told us about the gospel. It was how they lived it out. It was not confusing. It was clear, and it was concise. And I sure do thank the Lord for that, and I thank them for that. And I can only hope that I can be that, and Christina and I can be that to our kids, giving a clear call to walk with the Lord by the way that we live. Well, I think I'm going to call this a podcast, and I'm going to go see if I can round up the boys to see if they can sing a song. We're going to do one called, what is it called? "There is None Who Is So Wonderful as He." We hope you enjoy it. Talk to you later.
Lonely though I wander here, guard my way, my cross makes drear. There is none who is so wonderful as He. When my eyes are filled with tears, Jesus understands my fears. There is none who is so wonderful as He. There is none who is so wonderful as Jesus. There is none who is so full of love as He. Trusting Jesus' guidance only, on my way I am not lonely. No one understands my needs so well as He. Jesus' help is always there when my load is hard to bear. There is none who is so wonderful as He. He is with me everywhere, soothing all my anxious care. There is none who is so wonderful as He. There is none who is so wonderful as Jesus. There is none who is so full of love as He. Trusting Jesus' guidance only, on my way I am not lonely. No one understands my needs so well as He. When my span of life is o'er, I shall rest forevermore. There is none who is so wonderful as He. Through eternal ages long, I shall sing this happy song. There is none who is so wonderful as He. There is none who is so wonderful as Jesus. There is none who is so full of love as He. Trusting Jesus' guidance only, on my way I am not lonely. No one understands my needs so well as He.